So I wanted to explain why all of a sudden I'm doing the Lessons of A Course in Miracles and putting these videos on YouTube. I'm doing this because way back in 2017, I discovered my teacher and now my friend, Tina Louise Spalding, who posted her videos on YouTube where she was channeling Jesus and channeling various non-physical beings of a very high vibration and loving frequency. And I really didn't know what channeling was. I wasn't particularly spiritual. I think at the time I was like going to a Unitarian church and trying to experience more like an agnostic, belief system. But I was also following channelers that I couldn't see video of them, Cryon and Arcturians and Abraham through Esther Hicks. So I was kind of accustomed to what channeling was, and I sort of understood it, but actually seeing Tina, like, speaking with her eyes closed, delivering these channeled messages, it was kind of a new thing, and I wasn't really sure how to handle that at first, but what I began to realize was if I just listened to what was being spoken, that I could make my mind up, whether this was a person whose content I was interested in following or not. And so, fast forward to now, I can tell you that this studying A Course in Miracles and then also having the a Year of Forgiveness book that Tina wrote, which is a compilation of all of her channeled messages from channeling each day of 2019, all of the lessons of A Course in Miracles. This work has healed my mind and changed my life. And, to have like inner peace and feel a sense of, oh, I understand what's going on in the world and I know why I do the things that I do, mostly. I'm still learning. I don't feel like I'm at the end of my path by any means. There's a lot more for me to be interested in and do. But, getting on this path and sticking with it is something that I never expected. And I've never been this dedicated. Like when I pick up this book in the morning, I realize that I'm holding like a perfect medicine, like a cure for everything. And I didn't realize that at first. It was frustrating going through the lessons because a lot of the language is a little hard to understand, and it's sort of like poetic, but in like a frustrating way. But yeah, it was the beginning of my personal just opening to the idea of oneness, and that my consciousness is much bigger than my body, and that I don't know, there's just so much that we're not taught in our schools, in our homes, in our churches, in all of the things that influence us. And so discovering this information and feeling the way that it resonates with me is something that I'm really passionate about, and I just want to share with others. So that's why I'm doing this. Hopefully this material will interest you and help you, and that you will consider buying both books, A Course in Miracles, of course, and A Year of Forgiveness. I think that these books together, if you simply just read the lesson and then read the channeled material from that day, that can set you on a pathway towards, first and foremost, loving yourself. And then secondly, showing you how to be in the world around you with being fully and completely honest, and not putting on this pretend face that we tend to put on in the world. It is not a healthy thing. And especially now, I speak occasionally on the grand deceptions going on, the so-called illness that everybody has, and all the lies that our governments and the major corporations are sort of perpetrating out there. But when you have spiritual material to rely on to help you understand your own beliefs and yourself, you start to see the contrast between this narrative that's constantly being pumped and then what kind of naturally arises in your mind. For me, the questions that were coming up all along during this, the illness and the mandatory things everyone's supposed to do, is a question about natural immunity and how the body is not this decrepit, fearful thing that is subject to any random thing floating out in the air. I mean, it's ridiculous what we're being told about our own bodies and how they work and how they don't work, and how the only solution is to get all of this injectable medicine repeatedly into your body. And now it's become a threat. Well, if you don't do that, then you're not allowed to work. I mean, it's where the world is right now is very, very interesting. And if you don't have a spiritual practice to fall back on, you can easily get sucked into the craziness of what's going on. And even though in your mind you're kind of at this cognitive dissonance place, you're like, I know this isn't true, but I also don't want to lose my job. So then you kind of like force yourself to do what you don't want to do, which is torture. And I think Course in Miracles has taught me more than any other tool, any other, meditation or any modality, that I need to connect with the divine source of all knowledge, myself individually, and ask questions and then listen for an answer. And trust me, I've asked plenty of questions during this whole, supposed pandemic. I've asked questions about it, and the answers that I receive are very different than the answers that you hear when you turn on to your mainstream media. So, this isn't a plug necessarily for just the book. This isn't an agenda that I have or anything. It's more than the book. It's the practice, and it's this deeper place that you go with yourself when you start practicing the lessons of A Course in Miracles. And you have to open up your mind and your heart and just explore this universe. It's a beautiful, beautiful place that loves you very much and wants you to feel that you're not alone. And I love you too.